information and share it with our speakers.
It is time to start.
Good. Thank you very much, David. Fellow Toastmasters, we'll probably have some other people straggle in late, but we will start no matter what. And I welcome all the people that are online right now for our TLI, the Fall TLI. We've gathered, or we have put together a fabulous program, I believe, with Pat Johnson, Paola, and Monique being our speakers. And they all will be speaking about relevant stuff that's going on and that is relevant for our district, as well as many other districts, I would think. But we will hear from our distinguished leaders first. And with that, I would like to hand the meeting off to Michael Bear. Michael Bear, take it away.
Thank you very much, Alfred, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Fall TLI. This is so exciting. The things that we're going to learn today to help us grow our club, nurture our members, and nurture new members is priceless. So thank you all for your commitment to excellence. And remember, excellence is superb execution of the basics. So what are we going to hear today that we're able to take back and implement immediately? That's what we have to remember. And if even one thing we do that and implement it, that's what excellence is all about, because it's 1% change. So thank you for your commitment. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the speakers and the organizers as well. I am really looking forward to the rest of the afternoon. So Alfred, back to you.
Thank you very much, Michael. That's the words from our district director. Our next person would be our program quality director, David Story. David, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Alfred, and thank you to the members of District 64, visitors from other districts, and most today our speakers. You're here and you're going to witness a wonderful program that Alfred and his team have taken a lot of care and consideration to help send out the right message for our district today. And Alfred, I know that I was with you on the step and helping you out with this, and I'm so looking forward to what we're about to experience today. And I just want to thank you and your committee for what you've put together for us today. Back to you.
Thank you very much, David. That was our pleasure, and I hope that many people take, at least, as Michael said, home that one point that they can implement in their clubs, because we are all learning and we need to find new ways of thinking. But with that, I hand our meeting off to the third in command, and that would be Stephen Bryden, our club growth director. Stephen, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much, Alfred. I'm super excited. I'm super grateful. I'm grateful for the learning opportunities that Toastmasters provides, especially with these Toastmasters Leadership Institute sessions that we're able to participate in. If everyone can take themselves off mute and give a round of applause to show your excitement and enthusiasm to participate and celebrate the learning journey that we're embarking on. With that, I'll hand it back to Alfred and ensure to enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Okay, I picked somebody who is going to run the rest of the afternoon. So ultimately, I could take on that kind of role, and if we wish, but we won't change it right now. Our Master of Ceremony is a fairly new member to the PBS Toastmasters, and I believe belongs to one other club. And he is all over Toastmasters. He is picking roles. He's our VP Ed, and when I asked him, he did not hesitate to take on this role, this challenge. So with that, I would like to invite Adam Belair, our Master of Ceremony, for this afternoon. Adam, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Alfred. Good afternoon, members of District 64, our leadership team, and our most honored guests. My name is Adam Belair. I am the Vice President of Education for PBS. I've only been here about a year, but everybody has been so warm and welcoming. It is my honor to be here at the Fall TLI and to introduce our speakers tonight. Before we do, I would like to ask everybody just to make sure they're muted, so there's no interruptions for our speakers. Any questions? I'm sure at the end we'll have the time, but for right now, let's jump into it. Our opening keynote speaker today will be our past international president and distinguished Toastmaster, Pat Johnson. Pat joined Toastmasters in 1983 in rural northern Manitoba. During her 39 years of continual learning and membership in Toastmasters, she's spoken in a plethora of countries around the world as keynote speaker and as educator. Pat wrote and published Building and Sustaining Vibrant, Sustainable Toastmaster Programs in Corporations back in 2018, and launched this book at the International Convention in Chicago that same year. Haven't ordered it yet, but I plan to. Pat was awarded the 2001-2002 Distinguished District Governor Award and has won the 2012 Presidential Citation Award. She has held many Toastmaster offices, including Lieutenant Governor of Marketing in 1999 to 2000, District 21 Governor, 2001 to 2002, Regional 1 International Director, 2004 to 2006, and past International President of Toastmasters International, 2010 to 2011. Members of District 64, please help me welcome Pat Johnson.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you so much to my learning ground for where I started Toastmasters, District 64. Thank you for this humbling opportunity to speak with you today. I'm part of a three-part presentation today, and I'm honored to partner with Monique and Paola as we talk about the future. And I'm going to take a few minutes of my time to look at our past, certainly through my own eyes, look at our present with you, and then look at the future and talk about that. I know that Paola and Monique will provide much more substantial steps for us to take when we get to that, but it's all part of the process. So I want you to take a moment to think about honoring and cherishing District 64's past. So honor and cherish your past as a district. Acknowledge and live your truthful present. And to innovatively build a proud future, because this is your legacy in District 64. So I wasn't around, an obvious statement, in the 40s and the 50s when Toastmasters was creeping into Canada from the United States. Currently, I belong to a club number 331, which was chartered in 1949, but I previously belonged to Skyliners 831, which I suspect was chartered in the 50s sometime. So I can only touch that history back to the 1950s. But as I was mentioned in my introduction, I joined Toastmasters in a small rural community of Swan River. Now, some of you know that. Most places I visit have never heard of Swan River, but I know some of you will. And I walked into a club and joined where there were about 8 or 10 members in that farming community. I was thrilled to have found them, and it changed my life, as did my subsequent association with District 64. Now, some of us are like me and get bored easily. If I wouldn't have visited a district conference early on in my membership of Toastmasters, I would have quit. I would have been so bored with just club membership. But the district convention or conference gave me a vision of the whole organization. It invited me to attend an international convention not too many years later, which really blew my mind. and hooked me for lifelong learning in Toastmasters. I was invited, not because I was experienced and I knew lots, but I was invited because somebody knew me, and they invited me to be an area director or an area governor in those days, and I served. I was then subsequently raised my hand to be a division director or governor the next year and went on. My great aunt Pearl, who lived in Winnipeg, used to tell me all the time, Pat, if you see people who are doing what you want to do, hang out with them. And that's what I discovered in the team of District 64 leaders. People doing things I wanted to do. They were upbeat, they were working as a team, they were excited, they were innovating, and they were super proud. We were super proud members and learners of Toastmasters International, meeting new people, doing things that we were scared to do, but still doing them. And I think of the rich legacy that District 64 has. I remember when I was attending the monthly district meetings, I met Bert Angus. Now, some of you might remember that name, and some of you haven't got a clue about who I'm talking about. But Bert walked on water for me as a young Toastmaster. He had been at the world champion of public speaking. He showed up at our district meetings. He was a role model. He was active amongst us. He was talking about his experiences, and he was always excited about the next thing. I saw him mentoring his nephew, Derek Johansson, who was also aspiring to be a speaker. And I watched that team work. And I thought, that's special. I don't see that in my workplace, but I saw it in Toastmasters, and I wanted some of it. These things hooked me into staying in Toastmasters. When I belonged to Swan River Toastmasters, and I think that's what it was called, Swan Valley Toastmasters Club, I heard about Skyliners 831 all the time. And so when I moved to Winnipeg in 1987, I could hardly wait to get to Skyliners 831. And we had a battle to get to be elected the president of Skyliners, because it had always been men who had been president of Skyliners. And there was one woman ahead of me, and I forget her name at the moment, but she had been the president, and I wanted to be the president of Skyliners. And why did I want to be that? Because it had such a proud legacy in District 64. So I have a question for you. And I'd like to invite you to post it in chat for you. How many international presidents to date were members of District 64 at the same time? So they were members of District 64 at some time in their Toastmastering membership. How many people have been international president that say they came from District 64? So I've got 3, I've got 2, I've got 4, 3, 4, 3, 3, 128. Well, we don't have that many past presidents, so 3, 1, 2, okay. Make note. Eric Stumuller was in 1979-80, a German immigrant who arrived in Toastmasters and was actually invited while he was standing in a bus stop in a snowstorm. And Eric told that story for years. And they let him in on probation because he didn't speak very good English. Ended up international president, 79-80. Jack Gillespie, 1992-93, or 1991-92, served from District 64. A member of Skyliners, mind you. Now, Eric belonged to Manitoba Hydro Club. He was the outsider. But then we had Terry Daly, who was a member of Skyliners 831. international president 1998-99. And then myself, past president of Skyliners 831, and I was president in 2010-11. I always proudly say that I got my start in District 64 in Manitoba. This, for those of you that want to brag about your past legacy, you're the only district in the world that has produced 4 international presidents.
Wow.
A little District 64. So celebrate the legacy that you have in the past. We've been exposed as members of District 64 to many role models, to much excellence. And I know that we want to keep achieving and in doing more. So let's take a look at our present, a snapshot, because we want to acknowledge and live our truthful present. So I have some questions for you again, and I'm going to invite you to write them in the chat again, because I want to look at, yes, okay, Eric was in Centennial 313. I thought he was, and 313 is before my current club. So a 1940 club. Thank you for that, everyone. So I want to look at the present future. So get ready to write in chat. So what year was District 64 last distinguished? So a distinguished district, in what year were you last distinguished? According to the District Success Plan. 2014-15 is correct. 8 years ago, that's a long drought for a stellar district. Okay, so let's have a look at the next question. How many clubs must a district have in order to be officially a district? What's the minimum number of clubs that you can have? Okay, somebody said 70, 60 plus, 80, 50, 50. Yes, the correct answer is 50. So how many clubs do you currently have in District 64? Unless somebody's paid up since yesterday. How many do you currently have paid up? 51. You're 1 club away, or 2 clubs away from not being a district. And yet your legacy is so rich. And I'm not saying this for shame or embarrassment, because I own this too. I'm a product of District 64. But what I do know for me and my experience is that we have to know where we are in order to know where we're going to go and how we're going to get there. And to be alert, to live our truth and acknowledge it. How many clubs did District 64 lose last year? Or I don't know if lose is the right word, but stop their membership. Let's just put it that way. How many clubs are we less this year than last year? So we've got some 27, 20, 12. Okay, great. I calculated that we're down 18 clubs. How many years, and you don't have to guess this, but this takes a long time to build 18 clubs. And yet in 1 year, we've lost 18. That could take 5 years to rebuild, or 6 years, or 9 years, based on how fast we can grow them and how many people go to work to build those clubs. So just something to be aware of, because if we don't know where we are, it's hard to plan to move to the next step. A couple more questions. How many clubs in District 64 today have 20 or more members? Two. 2 clubs have the minimum number required to be a club in Toastmasters in District 64.
Holy shit.
Somebody's not on mute and is giving us a reaction. Yes, that's what I felt when I saw that. But we have to know the truth. Those 2 clubs, and if you're a member of those 2 clubs, congratulations. ASAP Toastmasters has 21 members currently, and Icebreaker Club has 22 members. Congratulations to those 2 clubs. Whatever they're doing right, we want what they've got. Let's go talk to them and figure out what they're doing. So while we look at this is just to acknowledge where we are today, because we can go along and not pay attention to what we're going through, but it's important to know that. And it's not all bad news. There are hundreds of people experiencing the benefit of Toastmasters in District 64. And that's a very good thing. Also, District 64 last year received the Strength Award from Toastmasters International. And I believe that that was given because of some conditions during COVID. But if you're curious about the Strength Award that you've been honored with and you don't know about it, talk to Alfred later and he can brag to you about that award that you are part of. So let's look at the future. Innovatively build a proud future. So one of the things that I've discovered when I know where I'm at and I want to move into the future, and I look at all the things that aren't working around me, I want to get past the symptoms. We've heard the expression where a doctor will say, well, we can only treat the symptoms. We can give you something for the pain. We can give you something for the headache, but we don't know what the cause is. And I'm going to say that that's what we need to do here in Toastmasters. Wherever in the world we're working in the program, we are students of Toastmasters. Toastmasters gives us a curriculum. As leaders and students, we get to run this curriculum and learn within it. And what I know is the process works. I was told from the very beginning when I got into Toastmasters, and I'm going, why do we do this? And why do we do that? And I'm going, somebody said, trust the process. Another gem that was shared with me early in my Toastmastering, Eric Stuhmiller said to me, do whatever you want in Toastmasters. Be innovative, be creative, try new things. Just don't break the rules. And he handed me the rule book. And I've never forgotten that in all the roles that I've held and all the learnings that I've had in Toastmasters. So I want to pass those words from Eric through me to you. Get innovative, be creative, try new things, ask people what they're doing. Learn from them, trust the process, and just don't break the rules. So when we know what the symptoms are, and we know what the symptoms are, we've got low membership because we've got 2 clubs out of 51 that have the minimum membership. I would suspect that we have lack of engagement because of that. Now, I'm making some assumptions here because I'm not visiting these clubs, but you as area directors, division directors, you're engaged with those clubs. So how are they doing? There's a loss of clubs, 18. There may be some residual around pathways. I know there's talk in different pockets that, oh, we don't like pathways. I want to say, as a member of 39 years, I've seen a lot of changes in the Toastmasters program. When it said, when Toastmasters International said, we've changed our program, and I looked at it and I said, there's 300 competencies built into the program. It's all there from what was in the original program. It's just packaged differently. I opened it up. I opened up the paths that I wanted to work in, and I work in my paths the same way as I worked in my manuals. I decide what I want to talk about. I look in my manuals and I pull out a project that fits it and I take it to my club. It's no different for me because I chose to see the opportunity and to be innovative, creative, and work and trust the process. So there may be negative talk, and I think that this is something subtle that can creep in when we're leaders in an organization, because we're the role models and people pick up from us. So if we don't like pathways, the new members who don't know anything else suddenly don't like pathways. Well, what would they like? Well, they don't know. So watch how our own attitude infiltrates. Watch that negative talk that creeps in where we say, well, we're just going to put a little effort in, or we're not going to do this, or this is not working very well. I find this has been very insidious since we got online, because we have a lot of background discussion and setup while people sit and wait for the meeting to start. And it's always not upbeat. It's like, oh, we're having trouble with this and this isn't working well. If you were a brand new student arriving in a program and you heard that, would you really want to sign up and pay for that? Not me, I don't think. So we just need to watch that. It's just a symptom of going, then we get discouraged, then we get disappointed, and it perpetuates. So what is the problem if those are the symptoms? And how could a leader go about identifying the problem so we can solve the problem rather than running after the symptoms? Well, I just want to talk a bit about a lesson that I learned as a life coach. That first of all, we need to acknowledge the truth, which we've talked about a bit before this, and look at what are we actually telling ourselves that isn't truthful. For example, I'll just share some of the ones that are white lies, if there are such a thing, but that's just a way of diminishing that we're lying to ourselves. First of all, and you may use this one, we tell ourselves that we're doing good work or we're doing the best we can, even though we know that we're cheating some corners. Or perhaps you, like me, say, oh, I'm too busy, when we're just not interested in doing more. Why not say, you know what, that just doesn't get me excited. I think that maybe Monique would be way better for that than me. Bring your passion to it. Don't just show up and take up space, Pat. And I've found that I had to quit using the excuse that I don't have time, because I truthfully mean that it's really just not a priority. So when I find and I connect to my passion for Toastmasters in a bigger picture than just me showing up, but me showing up as a student to learn from everyone else that shows up. Guess what? 39 years later, I still attend every TLI. Not because I have to read the roles and responsibilities of the rule, but there's going to be somebody there that I'm going to hear something new from. And that's what I'm at TLI for, to learn. And sometimes we're the teacher and sometimes we're the student, and we don't always know ahead of time which one will be. So there are lessons that we learn as we develop as leaders when we look into the future and we tell ourselves and others around us the truth. Einstein's definition of insanity was to do what you've always done and expect different results. So we need to look at the processes we have, the practices we have, the habits that we've developed in the district, and say, how do we change these? As was mentioned earlier today, we just need a 1% change, 1%, change one practice. Personally, as you know, and Alfred and I have had this conversation, as well as some of the rest of your district team, I'm involved passionately about corporate clubs. I would love to work with your District 64 team to do something different with your corporations. How can we reach out to them? How can we build a process that is perhaps different, perhaps it's the same, but maybe we've got different asks of that corporation to partner with us. But let's change it, because I know that the corporations are some of those clubs that have fallen off. Let's re-engage with them and let's propose something to them that is in their language, that talks corporate speak, that meets their ongoing training needs. Don't talk to them in Toastmaster jargon, because they are not students of ours yet. But let's talk to them about their needs and how we can meet their needs and how we can partner with us using their systems, their processes, because they already work, and we bring the curriculum. So as I said, I would love to partner with a team of people that want to work in corporations in District 64. It's important that we reach out to people. We know that some districts are having huge success. I was looking at some of the African districts that are currently hugely developing, and those districts are running, they're calling people forward to leadership on a bigger scale. It's just not that person, but they've got a huge mission. And they say, we're in Toastmasters because we're building leaders for Africa. That vision inspired me. They're not just worried about themselves individually, they're doing the work, but they've got a bigger purpose to build leaders for Africa. And it's curious, if you're curious at all, research some of the leadership in Africa, because well, this is my personal opinion. So when I was there, I saw a lot of I'm not even sure what to use, but lack of integrity in the leadership, I guess, the leadership that I was exposed to within the government. So I'll leave it at that, because I'm definitely not an expert, but just my observations. But I just love that call forward to build. So what about building leaders for District 64? Building leaders in Canada. Maybe we need a bigger vision. So I want to go for a few minutes, with your permission, to Patrick Lencioni's book entitled An Ideal Team Player. How many of you have read Patrick Lencioni's An Ideal Team Player? Okay, Greg, I can see you on my screen, hand went up. This is one of my currently favorite concepts, because I see it impacting us in Toastmasters and in our lives everywhere. Because Patrick Lencioni talks about there being 3 vital virtues in being a team member and a team player. And we're a team. We're a team as a district. We're a team in our clubs. We're a team in our areas and our divisions. So we've got teams all throughout Toastmasters at an international level. We're part of the international team because we belong to the international organization. So who do we need to be one of these vital, key, ideal team players? Well, in the words of Patrick Lencioni, he says, we need to be humble. And I think this will ultimately deal with when we get discouraged or we want a negative talk or we watch our attitude slipping. Lencioni calls us forward to be humble, not in a self-deprecating manner, but to bring our best to the team and getting rid of our personal agendas. Oh, I think that program should be this way. Okay, so maybe you should start your own program. You could be a consultant, run your own program. You've paid tuition to join Toastmasters education program. So trust the process and take the program. anyway, he encourages us to get rid of our personal agendas. We want to be keen. We want to bring our best and brightest ideas, but we want to bring them to the team. We want to collaborate. We want to be willing to let go of that ego, bring our research, bring our concepts, share them with the other team members, and then join together to be the brightest and best. Give up your personal attachment to the outcome. It's not just you, it's the entire team. That's internationally, district, division, area, club. We're all teams. So think about, how is your humility when you come together with your club? Do you have to have it your way? Or are you willing to look at other people? The new members have great ideas. That's my experience. When we struggle to recruit younger members into our club, ask them what they want. How can we make it attractive? My club, my home club at the moment has 21 members. Three of us are over 35. The rest are 35 and under. We have an hour and 10-minute meeting in the morning. We are quick, fast. We fly through the meeting. We're super efficient. We're out at 10 after 8 in the morning, and we have 18 millennials in our club. I don't know what it is, but some clubs have this going on. So what are they doing? And the point is, let's find out what people are doing that's different. The second point that Lencioni asks us to consider as a vital virtue as a team player is that we've got to be hungry. And are you hungry? I'm in Toastmasters because I started out hungry, and I'm still hungry. And I know many of you on this screen are here because you're still hungry. I've known a number of you since I was a beginning Toastmaster, and you're still here. Congratulations. And I hope that you're still hungry, meaning that we go above and beyond. We don't sit with our hands folded and wait for the district director to tell us what to do. We're jumping around and we're going, hey, I have an idea. Why don't we try this? Do you need help with TLI? You know, I'd love to be conference chair. I know somebody who would be a great education presenter. Have you still got your passion? Are you still hungry? And if not, why not? So dig deep, find that hunger, look at what else you can do, bring that passion to Toastmasters, take the initiative. If you're an area director, are you having area council meetings? As a division director, are you ensuring that your area's directors have all the tools that they need to make their clubs distinguished? Area directors, do you know how to make your clubs distinguished? Because that's your role. When you signed up, your role is to help your clubs be successful. That means distinguished. Have you got the tools? And if not, are you being humble? And are you being curious? And are you being hungry to ask and get support for that? And as area and division directors, are you building succession plans for next year? Because hungry people do that. They look around and in their passion, they know that they're moving on to something else next year, but who's going to fill the spot that they leave? Are you training people like I was called forward from my club? Are you calling people forward to take on leadership? Very important in that. And finally, Lencioni asks us to consider that we're people smart. We can be intelligent, but if we don't know how to get along with people and we don't manage people well, we're in trouble. So we need to put our members and our potential members first. Are they still at the top of your pyramid? They better be, because the member is the only reason we have Toastmasters. As we know, 51 clubs is very close to 50 clubs or 49 clubs. And without people, we don't have clubs and we don't have districts. Sometimes it feels like the members no longer at the top. Well, what can you do about it? What do you do to put your members in your club, in your area, your division, your district at the top? I know that when I was in District 64, I always felt like I came first. And that was because Bert Angus did things to make me feel like I was first. Eric Stumuller did. Jack Gillespie did. The rivalry that Terry Daly and I had made us feel like we were on the top of the pyramid in Toastmasters, that we were the most important things that were happening at that moment. Of course, that could have been a bit of naivety as well. But how do we make those members feel important? By making sure that they're oriented, that they understand the global aspect of Toastmasters International, that they know how many opportunities actually exist for them, all the transferable skills, what they can do, get them outside of their clubs so that they're engaged and can see beyond, that they start building leaders for Canada. Members of District 64, I love you because you're part of District 64. I love District 64 desperately, and I hope someday to be an active member back in this district. But do you realize that if we'd all quit Toastmasters when COVID started, just like lots of people did, they walked away, they said, oh, I'll be back when it's over, there wouldn't be a Toastmasters, but for you and me and all of us being here and holding the fort, keeping the lights on, as I said to my club, well, I'll be here throughout the pandemic, however long it lasts, because somebody's got to turn the lights on. I took ownership, as did many members of my club, as I know many did in your club. We'll keep the lights on because we're out of business if we turn them off. When I look back, I can't imagine my life without District 64 and Toastmasters. When I met you, District 64, in my early life, I was afraid to walk into a room where there were people. I never spoke. I was invisible. But I had this crazy brain that never quit, that I had to find something to do with it. And so I was invited by a farmer in the Swan Valley to come out to Toastmasters. And 9 months later, long after he had given up hope of me ever joining, I walked into Toastmasters. And I've been there for 39 years since. I ask you, where would you be without District 64? And how much is it worth to you in terms of your humility, your humbleness, or your humility, your hunger, and your people skills to get to work and do things differently, perhaps do some things the same, explore, evaluate those processes and see if they're in place, look at what works, look at what doesn't work, and start to rebuild District 64. There's no slide left. It's do or die is the truth. Don't we deserve this program in Toastmasters in Manitoba, in District 64? So when we look back and we can celebrate the rich legacy that we have in District 64, we need to acknowledge our present legacy that we're leaving and tell ourselves the truth and own that truth. But we can also set goals, hold one another accountable, get outside our comfort zone and our old habits, and challenge ourselves, get uncomfortable with doing things we've never done before, or maybe slightly different. Maybe they only need tweaking. Stretch and grow together, and you never know where you'll end up. And it would be awesome, absolutely awesome in the next few years to celebrate another year of distinguished performance by District 64. And I know that I'll be there with you screaming at the top of my lungs when that happens, because you're so worthy of it. So I invite you, fellow Toastmasters and fellow leaders, to honor and cherish your past legacy. Acknowledge and live your truthful present legacy, and innovatively build a proud future legacy as District 64. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Pat. That was a wonderful speech. I feel you've reinforced the District 64 House to make sure the foundation is there, and I know we can turn around and rebuild. On behalf of PBS, we will be sending you a nice little book about Manitoba. We'll just be shipping it out to you, so Alfred will take care of the details. Right now, we are going to go ahead and take a 5-minute break. I'm going to put the timer up on my screen. If Dave set up the screen share. There we go. Okay, I will start right now. And we'll see everybody back in 5 minutes. Okay, and we are, yep, we are back. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll move on to our next speaker. Our second speaker will be Paola Perina. Born in Verona, Italy, Paola has a BA in psychology from San Francisco State University in the US. She started her own retail business, successfully managing 3 stores for 28 years. She personally took care of all her own stores' communication, advertisement needs, both online and offline. Over a 10-year period, she developed a good working knowledge of social media platforms, content creations, and public relations. Paola has been enthusiastically Toastmaster since 2018. She has served as Vice President of Public Relations from 2019 to 2020 for her Verona Toastmasters Club, as Division Public Relations Assistant from 2020 to 2021, and as Public Relations Manager in District 109 this past year of 2021 to 2022. Paola is also one of the charter members for the Rimi Riviera Club in District 109. Paola conducts webinars on PR subjects for Club Officer Training and Toastmaster Leadership Institute in Districts 59, 91, 95, 109, and now 64. She's also held a webinar for Region 10 about Customer's Journey and Communication Plan. This year, District 64 is honored to have her speak with us today. Please help me welcome Paola Perina.
Sound muted.
Yes, I'm on mute. Well, thank you so much, Adam, and thank you so much, District 64, for having me, for inviting me here to your TLI. And I also want to say thank you, Pat, for a fantastic speech, for a really inspirational speech. And also thank you for sharing your numbers about membership in District 64, because decreasing membership, and in fact, how to attract new members, is the subject of my presentation tonight. In fact, we are going to be addressing the question, which I consider it to be an evergreen question because it comes back year after year, XCOM after XCOM, and it is, how can our clubs attract new members? From a marketing standpoint, the answer is we need a good marketing strategy. And when I look around the Toastmasters world, I actually see that on average, most clubs do have a marketing strategy in place. Last year, I was the public relations manager for District 109. District 109 is in Europe. It's a fairly large district. It comprises 10 different countries with 10 different languages. So believe me, it's very diverse. But the clubs, although they're very diverse, to me, they seem to have a pretty common marketing strategy. And it looks something like this. So maybe you will tell me if it connects with you also. It goes something like this. Clubs have online social media presence. They have social media profiles. And they will share two main kind of content. Again, there may be exceptions, but I'm talking on average. The first type of content is the about us content. They will share pictures of their meetings, of their people. During the pandemic, I saw a lot of screenshots of Zoom meetings. And now that we're back in person, they will share photos of their meetings, best speaker, best table topics. The second kind of content that I see is about our upcoming meeting type of posts. So they will go something like, if you want to become a better speaker, if you want to get over your fear of speaking, do come visit us. We will hold a meeting next week on such and such a date. To me, this is a brand-centric type of marketing, which means that the brand, in our case, the club, is at the center. They say, here we are, this is what we do. Do come visit us. Does this type of marketing work? Well, the answer is yes and no. It has been working really for several years, but it's not working any longer because things have changed and audiences have changed. And in fact, there has been a lot of marketing research done over the past few years to answer this question, to find a better strategy than brand-centric. And marketing research has come up with an answer to this, and it looks like a process. For us to understand this process, we need to kind of shift our mindset a little bit. And also, we need to shift our focus. Instead of putting our club at the center and then asking people to join us, we need to put our audience at the center. We need to put our prospects in the middle, at the center of our attention, their needs, their concerns, and their questions. And then we move towards them. We move towards them to create relationships and to nurture those relationships way before we actually get to meet in person. How's that possible? Well, this is what this webinar is about. It's a process, and it's likened to a journey. A journey because, just like a journey, it has a beginning, it has some stops in between, and then it has a final destination. In marketing, it is called the customer's journey. But since we're Toastmasters, I'm going to call it the member's journey. Sorry, there you go. Do you see my screen? Perfect. So let's have a look at what the member's journey looks like. What is this process? As you can see, it's a continuous line. It has a beginning, it has a destination, and then it has in between stops or stages. Each stage feeds into the next one. There are actually in a customer's journey or a member's journey, there are actually many stages. There can be many stages. I have narrowed it down to 5, which are also the ones that are closest to us as Toastmasters clubs. We together right now, we're going to look at the first 3 stages because those are the ones that are close, that are really referred to marketing, to outbound marketing. Monique is going to come after me and she is going to delve deep into member retention. She has a lot of experience with that, and she's really going to look at member retention tips and tricks with you. And then I will come back at the end to conclude the journey with the advocacy stage. We're going to look at those first 3 stages from 2 different standpoints. The first standpoint will be that of our prospect. We're going to look at their needs and also at their mindset. We're trying to get into their heads here. And then we're also going to look at this from another standpoint, which is that of the club. We're going to look at what are the club's goals for each one of these stages, and also practical actions that we can take to create that relationship with our prospects and to nurture that relationship so that we bring them to our clubs. Let's get started. The awareness stage, that's the beginning of the journey. What is the awareness stage? Well, it's that moment when you realize that you have a new need, an issue, or a problem. Well, take a look at this. This is my phone. I am very fond of my phone. It's been serving me very well for the past 4 years. And guess what? For the past 2 months, it has been kind of letting me down because the battery won't charge. I need to charge it maybe several times a day. So last week, I brought it in to have the battery changed. And guess what? It's just gotten worse. So I am reluctantly becoming aware that I will need to change my phone. So I am coming into the awareness that I will need to purchase a new one. This is the moment in which a person becomes aware. It can be about anything, not just purchasing something like a phone or a car or whatever. It can be also when a person realizes that they need to start on a self-growth path. Like it could be becoming a better presenter, becoming a better speaker. It doesn't matter whether it's an object or it's not an object, it's something immaterial. The process follows pretty much this along the same line. What do people need when they reach the awareness stage, when they start into the awareness stage? Well, first of all, they need information. People at this stage, they want to either make sense of their new situation, or they actually need to find out what's out there, what's available to them. And how are they going to do that? Well, first of all, people will hit search engines. People will hit Google. 80% of people will start their search through Google. Another 20% will start asking friends and family and colleagues for advice. In my experience, I would say that people will probably do both. However, Google search is still number 1. People will search for information, not just about to make sense or just gather new knowledge, but also they will want to know who or what can help them solve their problem or answer their questions. What about the mindset? Well, the mindset here of the person embarking on the journey is usually curious, interested, open. It may also be worried depending on what the new need or the issue is. But from a marketing standpoint, this is the best time for us to start a relationship with the person, with our prospects, because their mind is at the most open at this moment that it will ever be. It's not, they don't have biases yet. So let's have a look now from the other standpoint, that is that of our club. What are the club goals to meet prospects that are going through the awareness stage? Well, first of all, we need to establish a relationship with them. And how can we do that? Well, we can do that by answering their concerns or their questions, what's going on in their minds, through high quality content. We need to provide value, because by providing value and high quality content, people will start wondering, who is providing this good information to me? Think about yourself. If you're out there and you find a website that has very good content for you, very good information, most likely you will want to know who is writing that, who is the author of that information. On the other hand, if you find trivial information on a website, you will not bother, you will just move on. So providing good content is very, very important for us to make that first connection. And then at the same time, we will show authority. That's also very important. We will show people that we know what we're talking about. We know about public speaking. We know about leadership. And it's also a good idea to show success, to show a track record of success, success stories. Both they can be from our new members, it can be from long-standing members. But knowledge and success will help us build trust. And I'm going to spend a couple of words here on trust, online trust, because this is a very, very fundamental. Think about this. We all live in a neighborhood, and we all know who is in our neighborhood. We know, for instance, who sells the best vegetables. What are the restaurants that are good and that we know that if we go there, we can trust that we can eat well. We know the good dentists around, etc. Because we have experience in our neighborhoods. We have real life experience with these people. But what about when we're searching online? When we're searching through Google, we are flooded with information, with websites that we have no idea who they are. So how can we tell who's trustworthy and who's not? To answer this question, I found a research done by Trustpilot. Now, I don't know if in Canada you know Trustpilot, but you can compare this to Yelp. It's a consumer-based website that does reviews. Yes, it's a review website. And a couple of years ago, they've done this very interesting research on trust factors for the online world, of course. So what can increase or decrease trust when it comes to websites? I have kind of boiled down, it's a fantastic research that if you want to read it, but I kind of boiled down things to a few things that can really apply to our clubs. First of all, a high quality content, which we already talked about, is number one. Number two, quick replies. Again, you have found this beautiful, fantastic website that gives you high quality content. Most likely you will want to get in touch with them. So you find their contact page and you type in your email and you want to connect with them. And then a day goes by, 3 days go by, a week go by, and still no reply. What happens to your trust factor here towards this website? It's bound to go down. And then reviews. Having many reviews. Reviews have two scores to them. Well, not scores, but two numbers to them. The first one is the score, which can usually goes from 0 through 5. And then it has the number of reviews. Here, what increases the trust factor, what increases trust in a website is a combination of the score with the number. If you are looking for a restaurant in a new city and you find two results, one has, say, a score of 4.6, 4.7 with over 300 reviews. And then the second one has a full full 5-star score, but just one review. Which one do you believe is more trustworthy? Of course, the one that has the highest number of reviews, even though the score itself is a little bit lower. So having many reviews is very important also for our clubs. And then having a clear vision, a clear mission and values. This is becoming increasingly more important with newer generations. They want to know not just what we have to offer, but also what we stand for. You can see this very clearly with large companies, like it could be like H&M, for instance. They're the clothing company. They will not only show what they sell, but they will also tell you how the material is sourced and if it's sustainable, because there is really a need to show not only what we offer, but what our values are. And as Toastmasters, we're very lucky because Toastmasters does have a very clear mission and high values. So let's make sure that we share them. Conversely, what will decrease trust factors? Well, first of all, website URL, which is not secure. We all have this experience. We find this very good title in our Google search. We click on it, and then we land on a white blank page with a big sign in the middle that says, warning, this website is not secure. Do you want to continue anyway? That is a huge red flag. If our website for some reason is not secure, we really need to address that. An outdated website. This is something that I see quite often. The website can be kept. It's the information on it is old, or it's not the aesthetic, let's say, of it looks old. So let's make sure that our websites are sharp, they're easy to navigate, and that they look right with the time. They don't look like 10, 15 years old, because that's also a trust factor. And finally, the reviews we already talked about. So having no reviews definitely will decrease trust. Moving right along, I'm going to show you now what kind of actions we can take to really establish a relationship with our prospects that are in the awareness stage. You can see we have 3 buckets here. We have the first one on the left-hand side, which addresses what we can do for web research, Google searches. On the right-hand side, we see what we can do for videos or YouTube. And by the way, why am I putting YouTube there? Well, the reason for that is that YouTube is the 2nd largest search engine in the world. Google is number 1. Number 2 is not Bing. Number 2 is not Yahoo. Number 2 is YouTube. So let's make sure that our clubs have a YouTube channel and that they share videos through that. Now, let's go step by step here. So what kind of content can we create for our web presence? Blog articles. High quality blog articles that will address and answer those initial questions that our prospects have. Podcasts. Podcasts are becoming increasingly more popular because they allow people to gather information while they're doing something else. They don't require them to read. They can listen to them while they're commuting, while they're cooking, while they're exercising. So they are becoming more popular. Let's not forget podcasts. Top lists. Well, we're all familiar with this. Top 5 ways to nail your next presentation, for instance. 5 secret ways to do something or something else. These are actually blog articles which are organized in lists. These are excellent because for 2 reasons. First of all, for who's writing it, it makes it easier because it's easier to organize in a long blog article. And for the readers, it's also a better way, and it's easier to retain the information that they read if it's in a list fashion. We've been talking about online, but our clubs have physical venues as well. So let's not forget connecting with local papers and magazines to tell them about what's going on with our clubs. And finally, I put it down here, but actually it should be on top of the list, is having a Google business profile. I know that when I do this presentation, sometimes people don't know what a Google business profile is, so I will show it to you later in a minute. But having a Google business profile is of the utmost importance for us to be found through Google searches. Going to YouTube, I'm just going to go through a few ideas of videos that can be produced to attract people that are going through the awareness stage. Well, first of all, answer frequently asked questions. You can source these from your guests, for instance, to put them together and then prepare a video by answering them. Tips, tutorials, top things to know, top 5 things to improve your voice, for instance, educationals, and of course, interviews. Interviews are excellent for live videos. I mean, for live streaming. That also is becoming increasingly more popular as a communication strategy, or a tactic more than strategy, really, because it's in the moment and people like what is happening in the moment more so than recorded videos. Now, after we have prepared all of this content here, both for the web and for YouTube, we can share. We'll have plenty of material to share through our social media channels. So all this material will be added to those initial 2 content strategies that I talked about in the beginning, and that is showing our clubs members and our clubs pictures, plus showing our future meetings. Here is what a Google business profile looks like. I am sure that we are all familiar with this, because anytime we do a local search, or a search that is local in intent, like a dentist near me, a hairdresser near me, Google will return this kind of results. That means a Google map plus three places that we can find near us that will answer our query. Of course, the places can be a lot more, because you can just hit more places and it will give you a longer list. The thing to know here is that these 3 places that you see there are there only because they have a Google profile. If your club has a Google profile, it stands a very good chance to come out on top of Google searches whenever someone is searching for public speaking and they are in your community, they're living somewhere near you. If you don't have a Google business profile, no chance. You will not appear there, because this is only for those businesses and services that have a profile. For the past 2 years, I've been going around Europe and districts in Europe to preaching and teaching about clubs having business profiles. And finally, I have come up with a video that I can share with you. And in this video, I go through the whole process of how to set up a profile, updated to this year, because in January, Google has changed a little bit on how to do this. So it's an updated video. And I also go into how to optimize it in case you already have one, or even if you're starting from scratch, how to optimize it so that you get the best results. And for best results, I mean, your club comes out here on top, like you can see here, my club, in this Google search where the query was public speaking training near me. Having a Google profile also allows you to share posts just like you would on social media. For instance, the video that you created, the blog articles that you created, you can share them through your Google business profile. And that's excellent because of course you can share them through your social media channels, through your Facebook, etc. But the audience is going to be different because through social media, it's going to be your friends seeing it. On Google, it's going to be those prospects out there that do not know you and would never see it on your social media pages. Let's move right along, and I'm going to show you an example strategy map. I'm putting it all together in a very simple map like this one. So we start by focusing on our prospect needs or concerns. We are going to kind of brainstorm and think of what could be the questions that our prospect might have at the beginning. And we're then going to create answers to those questions through blog articles and YouTube videos. We're going to be answering them through articles and videos. And then we can share all that content through our social media channels, through our website, and also through our Google business profile. Sometimes when I present this webinar, I get questions. And one main question is, this is all fine and looks good, but it's not feasible. There is no way that a VPPR can do all of this. And I like that objection because it's true. A VPPR cannot do all of this by itself, by himself or herself. It takes a village. It takes the whole club to support a strategy like this one, but this is a winning strategy. And let me tell you more. The club supports the strategy, but this plan here, this map supports the club members as well, because it gives them an opportunity. It creates an opportunity for them, an opportunity to do some of their projects. If you are at level 4 of your pathway or above, level 4 or level 5, you know that there are projects there that have to do with writing a blog, creating a podcast, creating an online presence, creating a strategy for public relations. And those projects there are pretty common throughout the different pots. So the strategy itself creates, this map itself creates opportunity for our members. It's a win-win. The members have the opportunity to do their projects and proceed over on their path and create content that supports the club strategy and helps the club attract new members. Win-win. This is very important to consider. Let's see how I'm doing time-wise here. Moving on to the second stage, which is the comparison stage. Now, the person has gathered a lot of information already, and it's now going to become a little bit more investigative, and it's going to start thinking, well, okay, but how can you exactly solve my problems? So it's not just gathering general information, but it's getting more specific. They want to know exactly what we can do for them. They will start narrowing down their choices and evaluating their options. And they will also start making head-to-head comparisons. They will want to see reviews. Believe it or not, we need to have reviews. And also at this stage, time requirements and price will become a thing. I know that it's not really something that Toastmasters Club talk about in their advertising. It is something that it's talked about during when a person comes as a guest, but not before that. And instead, this is also something that should be addressed because it's very important during this stage. In fact, the mindset here becomes more analytical and more investigative. So we need to provide content that is a little bit different here to support people who are now going through this stage. What goals should our clubs have here? Well, first of all, we need to know our competition. Who is out there? Who are our competitors? Do we have competitors? What do they offer? Are there other Toastmasters clubs out there? Are there schools, private coaches? Maybe the Chamber of Commerce offers public speaking courses. We need to know our competition pretty well. We need to know exactly what they offer, how much they cost, how much it lasts, anything that they're offering, because that will help us decide what makes us different. If we don't know our competition, it will be very difficult for us to know what makes us unique. Now, Toastmasters International has all the material we need to have the unique selling points for Toastmasters. You can find that through the brand portal. But what makes your club unique? You need to brainstorm about this. Where Pat was talking earlier about her club being made up of millennials, meeting early in the morning. For sure, this makes it pretty unique. Or it could be maybe your club is a bilingual club. Whatever it is, just make a note, because you can use that to create content that will really be useful at this stage. And here you need to gather social proof. So get those reviews and get testimonials. Back to our buckets, and now we are in the second stage, the comparison stage. For the web, now we need to share data for this stage. Data sheets and infographics are excellent. Again, we can find both of these through Toastmasters International. Under resources on their website, you can find fantastic infographics and lots of data. By the way, it's also been updated lately. I believe it was updated last July. So go ahead and share this because it's very interesting. The blog articles now need to become more specific. How can we specifically help them solve their problems? Let's talk about pathways. We have 11 different paths that will, and we have a lot of skills that can be developed through those paths. We have potentially 11 different blog articles that we can write. Let's also write about our unique selling points. Let's not forget those reviews and also those testimonials. About testimonials, I have a little bit of experience with those because over the past 3 years, I've run 3 testimonial campaigns, starting at club level, then division, and finally last year I did a testimonial campaign for the District 109. I have dozens of testimonials. Some of these are videos. And I would say that videos beat written testimonials anytime. But video testimonials have a catch, especially if it is to be shared through social media. And the catch is they have to be short. No 3, 4, 5 minute testimonials, 1 minute or less. In fact, if you're sharing it through social media, you will have about a 90% or above retention only through the first 15 seconds. After that 15 seconds mark, attention drops. So make sure that your videos are short and make sure that the most important information is shared in the beginning of that video. Now, just here are a couple of ideas. What can you do for the videos, just my why. This is, of course, a classic my why testimonial. And also, what can I transfer that I learned in Toastmasters to my life, to my career, to my personal life. These are just ideas, but make sure that you do get video testimonials and also interviews, especially if they're live interviews. Those are really powerful. Again, you get to share all of this content that you're going to be creating together with your members through social media. And now finally, we come to the third and most crucial stage, which is the decision stage. This is when people have narrowed down their choices. They've already gotten information. They narrowed down their choices. They already made the comparison. They compared you against your competition, and they decided that, yes, they like you, will come visit you. What will they do? Well, of course, they're going to start searching for information, search for direction, and start sending in inquiries. They will form first impressions. Now, you might argue that first impressions are already formed through what we shared on our website, through social media, etc. And that's true. However, here, first impressions here become more personal because now they are, for the first time, getting in touch with us in person. I don't know if this is clear enough. The first impressions are confirmed here. Also, what is the perceived quality, the overall quality of their interaction with us? This is also very important. And once they come to our meeting, they will have some questions in their mind. And one of them is going to be, how does this place make me feel? It's always about me, okay? It's about oneself. So it refers to themselves. How do they feel? How do they make them feel? And also, does this solution appear to be a match to my needs? These are going to be the questions on our guest's mind. The mindset here is curious, hopeful, excited, interested. So let's meet our guest with that kind of spirit so that they find that we match their enthusiasm, their curiosity, their hopefulness. Let's have a look now at our club's goals here. Well, first of all, is a very simple one, and that is to be visible and easy to be found. It may seem like something trivial, but is of the utmost importance. Sometimes it's very difficult to get in touch with us, very difficult. Or people send in emails and they do not get a reply. People call a phone number that they find online, nobody answers. I mean, as a PRM, I can swear to you, I know this happens. You might say, not in my club, but it does happen. And this is what can actually stop the journey. The journey can stop right here with us if this part is not really taken care of. Therefore, be responsive. We need to show a welcoming attitude when people do come to us, and be well prepared to answer their questions, because they will bring questions with them. So if we are prepared to answer their question, we give quality answers, they will form good first impressions. And all of this will help build that trust that we started building back with all our online content. Again, here it gets it gets physical proof. Can they trust us? Well, here it's quite simple what we need to do, pretty straightforward. First of all, let's create events. I know many clubs share posts through their social media about their upcoming meetings, but not everybody creates events. Let's do that because it has a very different reach. We can do that through LinkedIn, we can do that through Facebook, and definitely we can also do that through event platforms like Meetup and Eventbrite. I've already concentrated on this, on keeping, on having timely replies and to keep on top of all sorts of incoming messages. Now that means that if there are too many sources of incoming messages for the VPPR to be able to stay on top of it, well, do something about it. It could mean that you say, give a member a specific source of messages. It could be a member takes care of Instagram, a member takes care of messages coming through Messenger and Facebook, etc. Maybe another one will take care of emails, or it also could mean that you just shut down, reduce the number of social platforms that you're taking care of, but be sure that to do it well. Just keep one, but keep it well. And then send follow-up emails to your guests, because I'm sure many of you do already. And if you don't, go ahead and do this. Tell them, yes, thank you for being with us. It was wonderful having you. Let's recognize that. And it's also, from a marketing standpoint, a very good time to ask for a review. And finally, let's make sure that we are on maps. Enough said about that. It really makes it easy for people to find us. I'm going to stop here now and give the floor to Monique, who is now going to delve into the next stage, which is now the guest has become a member. What do we need to do? Back to you, Adam.
Thank you very much, Paola. I say for myself, I am overwhelmed with information. My head's just spinning with great ideas. I've got 2 clubs, as Alfred mentioned, so I've got ideas for both sides now. I want to thank you for coming to speak. I know you got more to say later on. I will save the rest for later. Right now, I know I need a 5-minute break just to kind of process everything. So we will take 5 more minutes. I will put up the timer right now. And share screen. And I'll see everybody back in 5 minutes.
Adam, this is Monique. Is there a way you can pin Pat Johnson so I can see the timing lights? For some reason, I'm not seeing the ellipsis that allows me to pin her.
It only, if I put the spotlight on you, Monique, it's considered a pin. I can't pin 2 people.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So you have to scroll through and bring her down so you can see her.
Yeah. All right. Good to know.
Monique, you should be able to click on her little box and move her to the front of your line, and she'll stay there as long as you've got her. So find her
if
in
I go to gallery view and do that, I can move her up.
Yeah.
So almost just drag and drop.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something wrong about dragging and dropping a past international press.
Hey, Monique, you do that in person. Why not do it online? Maybe not physically, but verbally.
Got you. Price of one. Don't forget, Ted was there.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm okay.
Oh, that's funny. I've got her. Pat, you're right below me, so I should be able to see you when you.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
That's a good idea too. Pat, if you raise your hand, it'll put you to the front so that she can see you too. Thank you, Cheryl.
Look at that, learning anything new every day.
Oh, then I'm above her, though. I should stay below her.
No, she is spotlighted anyway.
Oh, is she? Okay, so then just on gallery, I'm above her. Okay, I'm good with that. Whatever helps Monique.
So Pat, simply loved that presentation of yours.
Thanks, Monique.
It was really good. I had a work meeting. So Dave Angus, Bert Angus's son, was the president of the Chamber of Commerce. And when he won president of the Chamber for North America, he was like the top chamber
Oh my
president.
gosh.
He attributed his success because of the Toastmasters Club we chartered in 2009.
I remember him also. I had forgotten him, but when you mentioned Dave, I remember that. I remember him. When I was involved, like in the mid 80s, 87, 89, I was in Winnipeg. Derek, his nephew, was always kind of with Bert, but Dave was there also, and I forgot. Yeah, that name is very familiar to me as well. Yeah. Yeah, District 64 is.
Mary, oops, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm done. I'll stop.
Derek's wife, Mary, is a member of St. Ignatius Toastmasters.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, the legacy just continues through that family. That's amazing.
Yes, I joined Louis Riel. That was my first club, and Mary was there. And or Mary joined after, I'm not sure. But she had given up Toastmasters for a while and then decided to come back and came to St. Ignatius. So it's great.
Okay, so we are back. It's time for our third presenter for today. Our third speaker will be past International Director and Distinguished Toastmaster, Monique Levesque-Pharoah. Sorry, Monique. My apologies. Monique is a manager, sponsorship, and event coordinator, I guess, at Health and Science Center Foundation in Winnipeg. She's worked there since 2015. She is responsible for identifying and implementing individual and corporate sponsor strategies to meet her organizational strategies, operations, and fundraiser goals. Monique holds a diploma in human resource management with honors from Red River College in Winnipeg. She was selected profile leader in the book, Why Winnipeg? A Profile of Community Leadership with Leadership Winnipeg in June of 2015. She is a Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce ambassador and a member of the Associate Fundraiser Professionals. Monique has been a Toastmaster since 1994, having received the Vital Words Toastmaster Club Award and Toastmaster of the Year, as well as Speaker of the Year multiple times throughout her career, and has become the Distinguished Toastmaster 2006 and won the District 64 Evaluation Contest at the Fall Conference in 2012. Monique has held several leadership positions within District 64, including Lieutenant Governor of Marketing, 2006-2007, Lieutenant Governor of Education and Training, 2007-2008, District Governor, 2008-2009, Region 4 Advisor, 2013-2014, and most recently a member of the Toastmasters International Board of Directors from 2016 to 2018. Members of District 64 and our honored guests, please welcome Monique Levesque-Pharoah.
Thank you, Adam. There's one item from my introduction that I do want to add, and it's something that I'm really passionate about. I'm serving currently as board chair for the Canadian Mental Health Association, and I'm also for Manitoba and Winnipeg, and I'm also sitting on the national board for the Canadian Mental Health Association, and that would not have been possible without my board experience of Toastmasters International. So I just want to give a shout out to board experience and all the experience we all glean over the years to give us really a robust and full life. But thank you very much, Adam. I'm very excited to join you all today. I have had the pleasure and honor of working with Pat and getting lost in Malaysia on a nice long walk. And I also had the pleasure and honor of meeting Paola when Alfred, she and I met to strategize about how to work together these three presentations. And Paola, I have to say, I mean, just by talking with you, I knew you would have a great presentation. But wow, my mind was blown. Simply incredible. I look forward to seeing all the clubs in District 64 take up the challenge and really strategize and do a great job with this marketing piece, which is so key. But we've done the marketing. We now have them as a new member, and I'm really passionate about talking about engagement. One of the things I will also share as Director of Partnerships and Events is it's called donor centricity, and Paola touched on it as well as Pat about, meeting the needs of members. And in the donor world, it's really paying attention to those clues, how they like to be recognized, how would they like their gift recognized, and that goes and holds true for the members of your club. So I'm very excited to share this piece of the presentation with you. All right, I'm going to make sure that everyone can see my screen before I move on. Can everyone see the screen? Perfect. So back in 2016, I was running for the board for Toastmasters International, and part of doing that process is talking to district leaders from around the world. And it's from those conversations that this ideology was cemented in my brain, and I call it the magic combo. Have you ever baked a cake that rose perfectly and tasted great? Or have you ever created the best dressing or marinade that had everyone raving? Well, you probably combined the perfect ingredients in the precise measure. Throughout the years, I've noticed that thriving clubs that achieve distinguished or better ethically, organically, and consistently often seem to have an important factor in common, and I call it the magic combo. You'll see 3 pillars on the screen. First one being new members, and you'll notice that Pat even touched on a few items in here. But what do new members bring to your clubs? They bring fresh new ideas. They're enthusiastic. They're eager to learn. They soak up the experience like a sponge. They give established Toastmasters motivation. And I'll touch on this later. They're also a great recruitment tool. In the second column, we have established Toastmasters. These Toastmasters have bucked the trend of leaving before the 2-year mark. They understand the program, but are still learning and growing. And they're often mentees and mentors at the same time. In this far right column, and I have to say, I had never heard of this terminology, but it was a district director from Florida back in 2016 who said to me he was a 4L Toastmaster. And I said, I've been a Toastmaster since 1994. What's this new level of Toastmasters you speak of? And he laughed. And he said, no, a 4L Toastmaster is a Toastmaster for life. And that really resonated with me, especially as Pat was talking about all of those Toastmasters that kept the lights on. How many of those Toastmasters are 4L Toastmasters? Doesn't it kind of give you goosebumps to think that as years go on, the legacy of our program, the legacy that is Toastmasters, would not be possible without the level of commitment required by Toastmasters keeping those lights on. So the 4L Toastmaster, if you were to define them, they've often served beyond the club. They have served as an area director or division director. They often have even served as a trio member. They enjoy giving back, and they are a great resource. I would say that in many clubs, those 4L Toastmasters, those long-standing Toastmasters, are also what I would consider the core of the club often. And they're the backbone. They're the engine of the club. And that resource sometimes goes underutilized. So this is not to say that if your club does not have this magic combo of ingredients / members, you can't be a strong club. However, if you do have this magic combo, let's discuss how you can leverage it for maximum impact. And even if you don't have that magic combo, let's say you're a brand new club, you can still glean information on how to engage your members, because it's about finding that unique fit We now know, when I worked at the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation, a really important discovery was made around that time. And it was that over 60 different subtypes of breast cancer existed that weren't known about before. And so they really pushed the ideology of personalized medicine. And you're hearing that more and more and more, that it's not a one size fits all approach, that there is a unique way to treat different patients, where there is a unique way to treat your members as well. And just like in that donor world where you're really focusing on donor centricity, in the club, you should be focusing on member centricity. So you've got them in the club. You have made that great first impression. You've put on a good show. You've submitted their dues. You've inducted them. Now it's time to keep them engaged. Number one, ask them what they expect to gain from their membership, so you can tailor their experience needs. Many years ago at Vital Words, we had a member. When we asked him this question, he said, I'm about to graduate from university and I'm really nervous about job interviews. So it's a tradition to this day that if we have a member who's in need of interview skills, we tailor the meeting specifically for them. I know Chris Damon is in the group. Chris, would you be willing to unmute yourself and share what we do for students who are going into medicine and how that impacts them?
I'm Monique. Sure, I can do that. We've done that a few times in our club, and I'm going to think of Caitlin right now. She was going into trying to get into it. I believe it was physio, wasn't it? Physio?
It was.
Or physician assistant. It may have been.
Okay.
Anyway, she was very nervous about her interview. So we as a club dedicated a whole meeting, just prepared interview questions that she had asked us to. There was 4 or 5 groups, I think, of questions, right? Was that many?
Yes, there was.
So we were assigned different members, different portion of that, let's say that meeting, and it worked out. I think she was just so excited about it, and it worked out very, very well for her. A second member I remember now was Sarah, and similar situation, and she ended up going through the interview, and she was accepted into the course. So it was very rewarding, I think, for everyone. So I think it was not just rewarding for the member, it was rewarding for all of the members, for the whole membership. Thank you,
I
Monique.
love that. Thank you, Chris. I think you're hands down correct that it not only helped the members who were going through that process, we all learned from it and we all enjoyed the extra help that we were able to provide. Now, remember, you've got them in the room. They're a brand new member. This is a Dawn Farrow trick that I like to share, and I am amazed at how often it works. Remember on the previous slide when I said new members can be a recruitment tool? Ask them when they join, do you know of anyone who could benefit from Toastmasters alongside you? And oftentimes they'll bring a guest who will sign up. And this not only bolsters their level of engagement, gives them a buddy, a natural person to go through the paths with, to discuss what their next steps will be. And it often will extend their length of membership. So I absolutely love just asking, who do you have in your circle of influence that could enjoy this with you? Another piece that's really important, and this is from Mel Knott, it's oftentimes we get nervous about asking people, would you like to join? And Mel Knott gave a presentation many years ago, I think it was in the 90s, where he said, put yourself in a guest's shoes. You get dressed, you're a little nervous, you've got the butterflies going, you walk into a room full of strangers, and no one asks you to join. And from that moment on, I found it very easy to ask people to join. And don't just ask them to join because you need a member. Ask them to join because they would enjoy the journey, because they would be a good fit with your club. If they're not a good fit, be authentic and be honest. I can tell you that we've had guests that we knew weren't going to be a good fit, and we steered them to a club we knew would be a good fit. So it's really important to, as Paola even said, make sure they feel welcome. Ask them once they've signed up and they've joined, ask them if they have a preference in mentor and assign accordingly. Number one rule is people like to have a choice. I remember being on family holidays and my nephew Luke, who was, I think he was about 5 or 6 at the time. Somehow we were alone and I asked him what he wanted for lunch. And I said, "Do you want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?" He said, "No, I want a jelly and peanut butter sandwich." I can tell you there hilarity ensued, because putting peanut butter over jam is not an easy feat, but he had the choice. So when you're assigning mentors, ask them their preference, really find a fit. You might think that someone would be a good fit, but perhaps they have a different idea. And if they're part of that decision-making process, they're going to enjoy that experience more. Provide a roadmap for mentee and mentee to follow to ensure success. And I'm just going to pause for a moment and I'm going to ask everyone to put their best tip in the chat for a strong mentor-mentee relationship. I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment. And I learned this term the other day. We're looking for a chatterfall. So just let your answers fill the chat. The ability to communicate well together. Good one. Thank you, David Story. Openness. Yes, good one.
Monique, who are we sending it to?
In the chat. In the chat is perfect.
To
I'm just
everybody?
reading the chat. Yeah, anyone who's got an idea. Find out what you have in common outside Toastmasters. Brilliant. I think I've heard the term Toastmasters family so often. You cannot be a Toastmasters family without discovering what people's interests are. Oh. Who else has a landline? There's a common interest. Sherry Wood mentored one of our club members who was also accepted into the medical program. Excellent. Very cool. So you get the idea that you don't just want to be, here's your mentor, here's your mentee, give them a roadmap, share those tips and tricks so that they can be successful. Thank you for that input, everyone. All right. Allow them to grow at their own pace. Do not pressure them to do more than they are willing. And let them be selfish about their experience. Remember when Paola said, they're coming to the club to meet their own needs? I joined my Toastmasters club in 1994 so that I could give a toast to the bride. And I can tell you, if I had been pestered to do any more than allow myself to grow and fulfill the need to do that speech properly in June when I joined in January, I would have found that off-putting. And we've heard the stats. We know that clubs are really struggling with membership and most likely getting a strong executive. But don't rush that process. If someone shows interest, fantastic. But if they're reticent, let them do project-based leadership activities until they're ready to take on a club executive role. When they do something, recognize their efforts, celebrate their achievements, and ask if the club is meeting their needs. And much like a job where you go in, you often will have a nice onboarding experience, and then you'll have a 3-month, 6-month, and yearly check-in. Use that same cadence, maybe monthly. Ask them, what did you like best about your Toastmasters journey this past month? How can we help you along and make sure you have more of those moments? Be very specific in trying to tailor those needs for your members. Once you have engaged your new members, now they've become established members. Now they've moved on to that second column. And it's at that point, it's great to invite them to participate on the club executive. When you're looking at your club and you've got the same members who are serving in the club executive year over year over year, you've got to ask yourself, are you really needed? To some degree, thank you for your support. but whenever possible, look for that second tier of members in your club and invite them to participate on the club executive. If they don't have time, offer to shadow them, offer to mentor them, offer for them to do it for a 6-month period, but invite them to participate in a way that's comfortable for them. At this point in time, it's great to encourage them to be a mentor for a new member. When we teach what we've learned, studies show we actually learn as we're teaching. So really sell the benefits for them as well, that by being a mentor, you're actually building your leadership capacity. And that transferable skill will hold you in good stead when you're in the job market, or when you're in your community, or when you find yourself in a volunteer position and you have to do something similar. That same core group of established members are great members to chair a membership building campaign. They remember their onboarding experience. They remember what their first few weeks as a Toastmaster was like. They know how to hook in those new potential guests. Asking those members to host the club contest or anniversary event will breathe fresh life into your event and your club. Ask them, what has Toastmasters done for you lately? Ask these members to share with the club their biggest learning from the past year. And this holds true for all of us. I think oftentimes when we are doing an open house or we're having a guest night, we talk about the early days, which is fantastic. But let's not forget, remember Pat said that she goes to every TLI? Why? Because she learns something new and different each time she goes. Think of ways that you can share those learnings with your club members. Follow up with an email that says, I'd never thought to look at your topic the way that you did. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for recommending that book. I'll read it. Making sure that you are constantly learning and growing and sharing what the impact is for you is a great way to keep people engaged. Invite them also to share their future educational plans and ensure they are paired with the Toastmaster, not Toastmasters, who has achieved their DTM or is further along in pathways. The important piece is when we're looking into the future, people are held more accountable and they're excited about those next steps. If you don't talk about the future, it's less likely that someone will be engaged into the future. Reminder, ask them if their needs are being met and adjust accordingly. You can also recognize these members by celebrating anniversaries, bake cookies, post on Facebook, tag a group photo, have fun with it. Now we're going to move into the long-term members. Now remember, just because someone declares they are a 4L Toastmaster doesn't mean they won't leave one day if we don't pay attention. And there's an ideology, and I really struggle with this. I think there's a paradigm shift that's happening, and that I know in talking with Matt Kinsey and in the presentation he provided to us back in the spring, that oftentimes people come, they get what they want, and they leave. But as long as they're a happy customer, that's fantastic. And that may be true. However, people want to feel wanted. People want to feel a sense of belonging. There is a study, it's called the Gallup Q12. It's 12 questions aimed at understanding if you've got an engaged workforce. And one of the pieces of that Q12 is that sense of belonging. So just because someone has declared they're a 4L Toastmaster, keep them engaged. Pay attention to them. Ways to recognize long-term members and celebrate benchmark anniversaries: bake a cake, host a roast. At Vital Words, if you get your DTM, we have a roast night. One might argue that might deter people from having their DTM, but ask the person who's receiving the DTM if they're open to that experience. Send a tweet, take a group photo, send an announcement or news release to the media that recognizes the longest standing member in your club. I can tell you, and in fact, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. This is actually kind of a funny story for me. Harry can you please unmute yourself and tell us all what your club did for your anniversary? I think it was, I can't remember which benchmark it was, but you had media there and Flin Flon Toastmasters. You had the whole spiel.
Okay, I think it was, yeah, I think they did a special roast for me in my 40th anniversary, and they had a big dinner. They had advertised that they're going to do it. They had media. They had a group come out to entertain from the community. They had all great people come. A whole busload of people came up from District 64 to come. It was well, and I knew nothing about it. It was kept totally quiet. I don't know how they did it, but I knew nothing about it till I walked in the room. I knew we were going to have a speech contest that day. I knew that it was going to happen in the morning, but an event was planned for the. I thought it was a show, so it's amazing they did it and kept it secret. And it was an overwhelming, wonderful experience. And you were there, Monique. So
I was there. I loved it.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
So tell us, Harry, you told us what the event was about. Tell us how it impacted you. Tell us how you felt from that
Well, as I say, it just felt overwhelmingly appreciated. And it's nice to feel that a long time member that people still care about you being there, and they make you feel welcome and wanted. And I think that's the most important thing anybody can do is to feel welcome and wanted in a club or any organization, because that makes you want to come back for more. Because I think it's been said many times about Toastmasters and that people come for the speaking and they stay for the fellowship and the friendships they build. And I know if I left Toastmasters, I know I would miss most friends I've got, like you, and all the people I consider personal friends or the speaking. And I think that what I like about Toastmasters is the trust it builds. I think that because the friendships are special, I think it's because of the trust we have. Like I've seen people like, say, Monique or somebody in our club get up and to an icebreaker, and they spoke their guts, and they told me things and said, wow, I feel so included. You told me this in a speech about you, and it's so personal. And Pat did some of that today, and Eric Stumel used to do that. And you feel bonded with him. Said, wow, these are people will share with me our personal friends. And that friendship to me is almost as valuable as being a club member. It's all together.
I agree with you, Harry.
And that's what Toastmasters, I don't know how you sell that. The greatest things are the friendships we build. And I've got friends in Toastmasters. I've been friends for 40 plus years. And we're still as good of friends as we always were. And
you shared that with us beautifully. You really painted a beautiful picture. I did mention it, but it bears repeating. And I love how Laverne Wojciechowski positioned it. Ask before you roast and make sure they are receptive to it. I did say that, but another piece of that puzzle that Laverne has put in there that I love is that some may consider it bullying. And let's remember, people, perception is reality, right? It's the person who's receiving the information. It's their truth. It's their reality. So very good point to add that other nuance piece to it, Laverne. Thank you for that. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. All right. So we are in that tier on the far right, the 4L Toastmasters. Another great piece of engaging those long-term members is encourage them to share their memories and history of the club. There are some clubs around the world who do this once a year. And when they do this, they invite members from far and wide to share their impressions. Guess what, folks? Sometimes they rejoin. Have a themed meeting in their honor. Send them thank you cards that all members sign. And of course, you can do e-cards now if you've got members from far and wide. Highlight years of membership on your website, newsletter, or Facebook. Ask them to provide educational sessions that highlight their specific experience or expertise. One of the things that's helped with a lot of clubs is they look to see who are the subject matter experts in their club. Those subject matter experts do a session, whether it's prepping for an interview on how to give feedback or how to put a proposal together or how to MC a wedding, whatever it is. That can be a special themed meeting that you can use to attract new members. Ensure an advanced mentee is assigned to them. So if you remember that those 3 tiers, it works really well when a Toastmaster in that 4L category also has an advanced mentee, someone who's really ready to go to that next level. It makes for a very synergistic partnership. Again, what has Toastmasters done for you lately? Toastmasters who continually work the program will tell you it's about lifelong learning. Ensure they share that message so other Toastmasters know the benefits never need to stop. Take a pulse. Are their needs being met? Ask them if there's anything the club can do to challenge them further. Remember, it's about constant growth. Really highlight that DTM. Make a big deal whenever someone in your club attains their DTM. Induct them properly into the DTM division of your club. Another great tip around the DTM is asking them to share their journey. What steps did they take? What did they find were the biggest hurdles or challenges? How did they overcome them? Maybe they can be a DTM coach. These are ways in which you can engage those really established long-term members. So you've got that magic combo, you've got all these members, but you can drill down even further and think about meeting your club's needs. So one of the things that I think we can all agree with just by hearing the stats, and congratulations to those clubs that are distinguished or have 20 or plus members, simply fantastic. We're so happy for you. Yes, we're a little jealous. Yes, we want to be like you, but you are a beacon of hope. So thank you for that. But when we are struggling, when we do have that sort of feeling of, oh, geez, we don't have enough of what we need, you need to address burnout issues. It's interesting. I was talking to Dr. Sean Young. He's the medical director at HSC Health Sciences Center where I work. I work at the foundation. And he shared an interesting concept that I hadn't really given any thought to. And it's called moral distress. So when you go into healthcare, you become a doctor, a healthcare aide, a nurse, allied health professional, you are going into that profession to help. And when you can't do the best job you can do, you experience moral distress. Maybe you don't have the equipment you need. Maybe you haven't had enough time off. Maybe you're in a COVID world that's very stressful and tenuous. So you experience moral distress because you can't provide the patient care that the patient needs. Us as members, because we have the desire to serve, because our mission is about creating effective communicators and leaders, if we are not giving a great club experience, we too experience moral distress. So how do we combat that? Well, we address burnout issues. There is one, I'm going to include another part of another presentation that I have been invited to give to different districts. I call it my ugly duckling incident, and it was the impetus for the next few slides. And the ugly duckling incident goes like this. I joined in '94. Sid McMurray, who had chartered the club, was a member, and it was a strong club, really vital, pardon the pun. And I had that experience of thinking all clubs were like that and that it would be like this forevermore. And then Sid McMurray passed. And after his passing, our club really struggled. And I remember there was one meeting where I was reading, it was the storytelling manual, and I was reading The Ugly Duckling. And I essentially was reading it to a 30-year-old man named David Kendall. Why only one? Because I didn't count my husband. I don't even think we were married yet. I didn't count Don Farrow because I'd practiced The Ugly Duckling on him ad nauseum, and he probably could read it from memory without opening the book. So I didn't count him. No offense to my husband, Don. And Fred Corey was another one of the members who was working for the city of Winnipeg and was really working around the clock and was exhausted and promptly fell asleep when I started reading The Ugly Duckling. David Kendall, however, had not heard the story before, and so he was paying close attention. And as I'm reading, because remember, I'd practiced it so much, I could almost have an outer body experience. And I am thinking, this is not the Toastmasters experience I want. So around that same time, the club was looking to fold. And core members, including David Kendall, Don Farrow, myself, Fred Corey, a few others, said, we can't let vital words die. We've got to keep Sid McMurray's legacy alive. Oh God, comes the tears. Geez. So we came up with a plan, and one was to address those burnout issues. We spread out responsibilities, which meant that you were not going to be Toastmaster every meeting. And we really spread it out. We also developed an attendance plan, and we gave every single member one Wednesday off a month so that they could rejuvenate and not feel obligated to be at every single meeting. We got creative and had joint meetings, which was very, very helpful. And thank you to clubs like Frank Parlor, Vinio Dictum, who really helped us along that journey. We never, ever canceled a meeting. We learned that when you cancel a meeting, Murphy's Law, that's when you have the guest come to the meeting room. So we never canceled them, but we did truncate them. At that point in time in our history, we were a 2-hour meeting club, and we truncated them sometimes down to 50 minutes, but we never canceled. I know I've mentioned this before, but we would have tailored meetings for job interview skills. We did a session on chairing a board meeting, got 2 new members that way. And we also did a targeted meeting on how to give feedback. We did posters. Are you a new manager? Are you afraid to give feedback? Well, come and learn how to do it. I mean, it's a cornerstone of our program, but tailoring the message for what people might need was a way we got extra members. Oops, there we go. I know Jeanette, I think there was a few others who put this in the chat, moments of truth, can't say it enough. Every club should be doing moments of truth once or twice a year. It's a great tool in assessing your club's health. One of the recommendations I would have for moments of truth, oftentimes it's an established Toastmaster that runs the moments of truth, which would make sense in a lot of ways. But I would challenge clubs to look at it in a different way. This is a great opportunity for a brand new member to chair the moments of truth because they don't have any skin in the game. They're brand new. They can take the feedback on the chin because they weren't responsible for what's led you there. And it allows for a more open forum discussion. So if your club has run a moments of truth, I want to know what you learned from that moments of truth. What changes needed to happen and what did you do? And I'm going to ask for 3 participants. I'm going to ask that each of those participants please be as concise as possible. And I'll just pick people random who put up their hand, not Pat for the timing. Anyone have an experience of giving the moments of truth? What did they learn from it and what did they address? And again, okay, Del Duffield, if you can unmute yourself, and I'll give you a minute.
Thank you, Monique. I appreciate that. Yeah, I did the 4 clubs I was involved with last year. I did a moments of truth to every one of them. And through one of them, we discovered that the big issue for us was a guest package. And so one of the members, Cheryl Pui, put together a guest package for the Bricker Club for virtual, and we're using it today. So sometimes you do find an issue that hasn't been addressed, and so that's what you try to do with this Bricker program.
Love it. Great example. I see some, Pat, is that your hand? Oh, that's your real hand. Do you want to share your moments of truth?
Yeah, I love the moments of truth, particularly when the executive meets after and tries to build and works to build an action plan around it. One of the things that most surprised us is that we felt we were doing a great job on onboarding our new members, but when we set them off by themselves and they reported out, that's the one thing that they felt we weren't doing a good job of. So we were under the mistaken impression that we were all that in a bag of chips, and they were going, no, we wouldn't even invite you to the party. So it was a great eye-opener.
That's a great example. And it's back to that perception is reality, right? I see here that Jeanette said years ago in PBS, we had a buddy mentor, seasoned Toastmaster mentoring new members who brought in another mentor, other member that they mentored down the line. And there was someone who put in the chat about about the moments of truth that I liked. Hold on, I'm going to get back down to it.
I was saying that Carrie
did
did
a
a panel
panel.
discussion.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, so there's different ways. It's about being creative and fun with it. Love it. I'm going to go back to sharing. So when Vital Words did the moments of truth, what we learned was we needed more speaking opportunities. So what we did with our introductions is we added fun facts so that people would feel like they're getting their toes in the water. We found out that we didn't have enough variety. So we did those job interview tactics. We did the 24-hour President's Challenge, and this was brought forth by our president at the time, Chris Mattern. Another club that I belonged to for a while had an idiom master, and it came very organically. What happened was it was a club that was for new immigrants to Canada, and every once in a while, someone would use an idiom. And one of the idioms that was used was one of the mentors of the club said, "Oh, geez, it's raining cats and dogs out there." And one of the immigrants took it literally and went, "Oh no," and ran to the window. So we decided from that point on, each week we would have an idiom master to explain some of the vernacular or the terms or turns of phrase that North Americans would have that these immigrants hadn't been used to. And then more themed meetings. Backwards meeting is one of my favorites. So the 24-hour President's Challenge, people sign up for the challenge knowing that they will only have 24 hours to prepare. Then the president assigns topics to each speaker 24 hours before the meeting. Now, what's great about this is it's not quite a table topics. It's not quite a fully prepared speech, but it gets those juices flowing in a directed way. And what's fantastic is it's a great challenge for both experienced and new Toastmasters. If members don't know what to talk about, this is a great opportunity. In fact, one of my favorite Toastmaster experiences was with the 24-hour President's Challenge. And being a movie lover, I was tasked with giving a speech about the Oscars. I learned more about the Oscars, and I enjoy the Oscars each and every year more because of that 24-hour President's Challenge. Invite feedback from past members. Then incorporate their suggestions for growth and invite them back to evaluate your progress. Some examples include, you need stronger evaluations. Do the evaluate to motivate. Would like to have a mentor, didn't have a real strong mentor. Start a tailored mentorship program. Meetings started too late and lasted too long. Start on time. Kind of embarrassed to say this, but Vital Words has a long history of not starting precisely on time. I would say we're within 2 or 3 minutes. We really strive to get to that 7 p.m. mark. But there was a time, I can't believe I'm going to share this, but there was a time, and I'm sure many of the members on this call may remember, that we used to start at 7:11, specifically because we couldn't start at 7. Well, we've changed that. We're much better. And really, I cannot express to you, time is of the essence. People really do value their time. We don't have enough time to do the things we want. So you want to be mindful of that time and respectful of it. Themed meetings. If you want more creative themes, simply go to www.brownielocks.com. It is so fun to build meetings around these themes. You can have National Tooth Fairy Day, Extraterrestrial Visitor Day, Random Acts of Kindness Week. There was one club when I was serving as international director, took this one to heart, and their whole theme of the meeting was sharing what the random acts of kindness were from the previous week. Texas Cowboy Poetry Week, Celebrate Your Name Week, Sherlock Holmes, too bad Scott Winning isn't on the call, True Confessions Day, April Fool's Day, Universal Human Rights Month, National Tie Month. Just have fun with it. It just adds a bit of flair and change to your meeting. By paying attention to the magic combo and nurturing the specific needs of each distinct group of Toastmasters members, you will find yourself with a thriving club. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Monique. That was a wonderful presentation. I definitely like the idea of the cake itself, because if you think about it, the best opportunities you have with baking as well as meal preparation is when you get the ones online that everybody kind of contributes into. So if we all kind of put together, we can build up the cake that is District 64, get our clubs back up and get going. We're going to take another 5-minute break, and then I want to ask Paola to come back. So I will put the timer up. Let's go share screen. So we'll start 5 minutes and we will see everybody back. And we are back. Thank you, everybody, for staying with us. I wanted to mention one quick thing, which I forgot to mention earlier. For Monique, we actually will have a book for you as well. So we're going to be shipping that out as soon as we can. Thank you again for speaking with us. It was an absolute pleasure. Now I would like to ask Paola to come back and wrap up the TLI today with the final part of her speech on how to, I guess, keep members, I believe. Paola.
Well, thank you so much, Adam. Yes, we have come to the final stage of our journey, and I really want to thank Monique. Monique, this is great. I mean, you are amazing. I could not believe how many ideas you gave me, and I'm going to take them back to District 109. I'm sure they will be thickle pink, to know about this. Really great wealth of information and ideas to keep our members happy. And we do want to keep our members happy. Do you know why? And do you know what's the difference actually between a happy member and a grumpy member? Who knows that? What's your idea? What's the difference between a happy member and a grumpy member?
Happy member stays.
Yes. Anyone else?
we
Happy member's a better ambassador. Oops.
Yes, of course.
And I think we
Anyone else?
participate more.
Yes. But what about marketing? What's the difference?
They bring other people in.
Yes, they become ambassadors.
Testimonials.
Yes, they can give testimonials.
Happy members would give positive experiences with Toastmasters, as opposed to grumpy would give negative.
Yes, and I would say something else. The main difference between a happy member and not the difference, but what they have in common really is that both a happy member and a grumpy member will tell everybody. So we really want to keep our members happy. And let me share here the end of the journey. People enter advocacy and become brand ambassador at any step, at any point in their journey as a member. It can be in the beginning, or it can also be sometime down the line. What are the factors that really takes a member to the advocacy stage? Well, there are a few suggestions. One of them is that when a member feels that they've made the right choice. We all hate having regrets, don't we? We all want to be sure that we made right choices. So this is extremely important. This is something the member feels. This is not something that we can actually do, but when the member feels that they've made the right choice, they step into advocacy. The second element could be when they find that a product or service, and in our case, belonging to a club or to Toastmasters, meets or exceeds their expectations. So many of the suggestions that Monique has given us will help us meet and also exceed our members' expectations and keep on doing that, not just at the beginning of their being a member with us, but also when they are long-standing members. And then the third element is when they think that the choice that they have made can be useful to people that they know. They become our brand ambassadors, because when people are happy, when people are satisfied, just like when people are in love, they will just tell everybody. That's where we want to take our members, to that kind of stage, to the advocacy stage. What can we do to support our members through that stage? Well, first of all, involve them in projects. Of course, Monique has given us a lot of ideas here. We can involve happy members in project, even if they are early in their Toastmaster journey. We might invite them to XCOM meetings. We might invite them to take decisions for the club. We might invite them to be part of a speechcraft program, or be part of an open house, perhaps. Just get them involved, get them feeling that we care for them. Communicate incentives within the club. Toastmasters International has very good program for advocacy and for brand ambassadors. They have the Smedley Award, the Talk Up Toastmasters, and the Beat the Clock. My experience tells me that not all clubs are aware of all of these incentives that are out there. For those of you who are long-standing Toastmasters, this may seem impossible. However, this is what I found. So let's make sure that within our clubs, we tell our members that these incentives are there from Toastmasters International. And also, let's encourage referrals through club recognition. Let's recognize our members for what they're doing for the club. Even if they do it spontaneously, out of their own happiness, let's make sure that we recognize that. And again, I go back to Monique for her many ideas. Now, I want to wrap up the journey with a summary in 7 steps. The first one is to focus on prospect needs when we communicate. Let's not focus on the club's needs, but on prospects' needs. Let's create a list with their questions, with their concerns. We can draw upon that on our members. What was their concern? What were their questions on their mind when they first joined? Let's make a list. Let's create high quality content to put out there on our website, through our social media. Let's make sure that we are easy to find through Google. I remind again the Google business profile. Let's collect reviews. And I got a question in the chat earlier. Somebody was asking, whose reviews are these? Would they be the members' reviews or the guests? My answer is both. Get your members to write a review and also ask guests after they've come to your meeting with a thank you letter to send in a review. The magic combo, all of those ideas, keep our members engaged, keep our members happy. And finally, help our members tell the world. And as officers, if we follow this simple roadmap, we will have created a pathway for the future. We will have planted seeds that with time will give rise to many, many new journeys. So this is the end of the customer's journey. I hope you have enjoyed this, and I want to thank you and give back the stage to Adam.
Thank you very much. In the way. Thank you very much, Paola. You have been absolutely wonderful, as has Pat and Monique. I haven't forgotten about you. Don't worry. We do have a Manitoba book for you as well. I think it should be especially nice once we can actually get it shipped out to you. I don't know if you've ever been to Manitoba, but it's freezing cold here right now, so hopefully you enjoy it. That is the end of our presentations. Hang on. Let me correct that. This is the end of our presentations. At this time, I would like everybody who's not our speaker to please turn off your camera, turn on your mic, and let's give a big round of applause for Pat Johnson, Paola Perina, and Monique Levesque-Pharoah for coming here today and speaking with us. Thank you so very much.
Yay, wonderful job, everybody.
Thank you.
And with that, I will turn it back to our Program Quality Director, Mr. Dave Story. David?
Thank you very much, Adam. First of all, I want to echo what Adam said. We had the right speakers with the right message at the right time. Now, District 64, it's up to us to take that message and do something with it. Thank you to our 3 speakers. You were awesome. On behalf of the district leadership, we love you. Thank you very much for sharing those messages with us today. It was utterly fantastic. Alfred, I just want to congratulate you and your team on an excellent TLI. And if the membership, has anything to say about this, don't be afraid to shoot Alfred a little bit of love via email or chat or something, congratulating him and his team for such a fantastic day today. I want to remind people club officer training has started. We have approximately 50% of our club officer trainers registered. We need to get more. Talk about it, get people to the website, get them registered so that they can do the right job that was talked about today for the club and that we can move forward. I'm putting in a link into chat right now. It is a survey. We would like everybody to take that survey and it'll get submitted to us on ideas on how we can make great TLIs in the future. And the last thing I want to announce that has not been announced yet for the district, put Saturday, December 17th on your calendar. It is going to be the final district meeting before Christmas. It is going to be held 100% hybrid out of the West Wind Community Center by CFB Winnipeg. It's starting at 9 in the morning. It's going to be a quick district meeting. And then there's going to be some long overdue recognition taking place. So everybody's welcome. It doesn't cost anything to come out, but it'd be just a great way to meet before Christmas and get together and show the right amount of respect and appreciation for things that some of our members have done in the past. And having said that, Alfred, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, David. Fellow Toastmasters, I hope you enjoyed what you saw today. I really and truly hope that you are taking home some of the messages that our speakers have brought to you today, because we all know, and I'm not short on the club, I'm just as short on members in my clubs as every other club, except those 4 maybe. So we need to take those words to heart and act on them. That's the main part, act on them. Take these messages home to your clubs and make sure that you do something with it, because that's what it was all about. Help you get onto the right track. I once again thank Pat, Paola, and Monique for taking the time to present to us in District 64, and hope that you enjoyed it and that we will hear from you sometimes around the world again. And with that, I thank all who were in attendance. Fill out the survey so that the district can do better or equal to what we did today, and make sure that you take things home with you. That's all I have to say. And with that, I close out or adjourn our afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
The district website says December 10th for the
Yeah,
district.
it's been changed to the 17th.
Thanks.
We'll update the website.
No.
Yeah. Thank you. I will.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. And thank you,
Bye,
Alfred.
Alfred. Bye-bye.
Bye, Pam.